Pain manifests in cruel
but I knew
words.
reacting emotionally
Words that
would
make
only
me
give
question
them
my own
satisfaction.
worth. Do you think that guy
I
even
blocked
thinks
his
about
number
you
and
now?
continued with my
Especially
plan.
now that you've
I
gained
knew I
weight?
needed solid proof.
He asked one night,
So I reached out
his
to a
voice
friend
laced
who worked
with
at the
bitterness.
restaurant where she and
He
her
wouldn't
ex
even
had their
give you
little
a
date.
second glance.
With some casual
His
conversation,
words struck a
I
nerve.
confirmed that she had,
I'm
in
already
fact,
painfully
been there
aware
with
of how
another
my
guy.
body has
Not
changed
just any
after
guy,
2
but
pregnancies.
the same ex she
To
claimed
hear it
was
spoken
just a
aloud by the
friend.
man I love
That
made
was
it
the
all the
final
more
push I
unbearable.
needed.
He
Instead of
remembers every
confronting her
detail I
privately,
ever shared about
I
that
decided
man.
to make sure
How
she
I once
couldn't worm
admitted
her
to
way
finding
out
him
of it.
attractive.
I planned
How
a
his
small
authority as my
get-together with a
boss at
few
the time
close
may have
friends,
added to his allure.
including some
I've
of
told
hers.
my husband over and
Right
over
before
that
the
it was
gathering,
nothing more than
I
a
let my
fleeting moment
tech-savvy
of
friend send me
nostalgia,
a few
a
choice
mistaken
screenshots.
judgment,
Nothing
something
too
I haven't
invasive,
thought about in
just
years.
enough to prove the
But even
emotional
the smallest
and likely
actions,
physical
liking a
affair.
social media
I
post,
printed the receipt
an
from the
innocent
restaurant
interaction,
and added a few notes
explode
from my
into
little journal
full-blown
for good
arguments.
measure.
It
During the
became even
gathering,
worse when I
kept things
admitted that I
light,
had a dream
acting
about
like
the man.
everything was fine.
I thought honesty
Then,
would help,
when the moment
but
felt
it only
right, I
deepened the
casually brought
wound.
up trust in
Now,
relationships.
my husband
It was a
constantly
trap
questions
she
me.
walked right into.
Do I still
She started
fantasize about
talking
him?
about how trust
Do I
is the
even find
foundation
my
of
husband
everything.
attractive
How she'd
anymore?
never tolerate
No matter how many
dishonesty.
times I tell him
That's
that
when
my
I pulled
love,
out the receipt
my
and
desire,
placed it on the
my
table.
commitment is only for
What
him.
about this,
He
then?
can't seem to
I
believe me.
asked,
I don't
watching
know
the
how to
color
bridge
drain
this
from her
gap
face.
between us.
The room
No matter
went
what I
silent.
do, no matter
She
what I
stammered,
say,
tried to
it
come
never
up with
seems to be
excuses.
enough.
But I
I
wasn't
just want to
having
find
it.
our way
I
back
laid out
to the
everything.
love, the
late
trust,
night texts,
the connection
the
we once
secret
had
meetups,
before all of
the
this
weekend
poisoned our
getaway.
marriage.
Every
My
time she
chest
tried
felt
to deny
tight as
it,
I picked up my
I countered
phone
with
and typed a
cold,
message.
hard evidence.
Real mature,
The final blow,
leaving without
the
saying
messages
anything.
from her ex,
Eric,
including the
my
one where
fingers
he laughed
hovered over
about
the
how
send button
clueless
for
I
a moment
was.
before I pressed
She
it.
broke down,
The house buzzed
shifting
with the
from
usual
denial to
morning
anger,
chaos.
then
Our
to
children
pleading.
getting ready for
But
school.
I was done.
Their voices
I
filling the
told her to
space
pack
where
her
his should have
things and
been.
leave.
Mom,
She tried
can
to
you
blame
tie
me,
my shoes?
saying I didn't give her enough
Logan,
attention.
our
that I was
6-year-old,
always
tugged
busy.
at my sleeve.
I just laughed
his
and
voice
said,
small,
"You have
hesitant.
plenty of attention."
I turned
from
too
your ex.
sharply,
She left in
frustration
tears,
spilling out before
and
I
her
could stop it.
reputation took a hit
Logan,
when word got
not
around.
right now.
Her own
I
friends
snapped.
were disgusted.
From the other room,
and some
Emma,
even cut ties
our
with her.
9-year-old,
As for
wailed
her
in
ex,
frustration.
he didn't
I
stick
can't
around
find
for
my
long.
tablet.
A few months
Emma,
later,
I
I
called
heard he
back,
moved on
my
to
voice
someone
sharper
else,
than I intended.
proving that he was never
If you keep
serious
crying
about
over
her
that
either.
tablet,
I moved
I
on
swear
too,
I will take it away
focusing on
for good.
myself and my career.
Logan
It
stood
stung for a
frozen,
while,
his
but
wide,
in the end,
unblinking
I
eyes
felt
fixed on me.
relieved. I
Eyes that
dodged a
looked so
bullet,
much like
and
Eric's.
watching her perfect
Something
little plan
about the way
crumble,
he watched
that
me
was
made
just
guilt
the
creep
cherry
into
on
my
top.
chest.
I
I
kept my
exhaled
composure
slowly
and
and knelt
didn't
down to
react,
tie his
but I made
shoes,
sure to save
trying to
every
soften my
message he
tone,
sent.
to make up
I
for
knew
my
the moment
outburst.
for a confrontation
Hours
would come,
passed before
but I
Eric
didn't
finally
expect it to be
responded.
so soon.
I'll be back
My
later.
girlfriend decided to
Don't
throw me
wait
a birthday
up.
party at our
I
apartment.
called him immediately,
Likely to maintain
my
the
fingers
image of a
trembling
devoted
as I
and
held the
loving
phone
partner
to
in
my
front of our
ear.
friends and family.
When he answered,
My
his
parents
voice was
arrived early
cold,
to help set up,
distant,
along with a
so
few
different
close
from the man
friends,
I once knew.
including one who happened to
Eric,
be an off-duty
what does
law
that even
enforcement
mean?
officer.
I
My
asked,
father kept
my
stealing
voice
glances
edged
at
with
me,
frustration and
silently asking
desperation.
if tonight was
There was
the
a
night.
pause,
I gave him
and then
a
the
small
line
nod.
went dead.
If I was
He
going
had
to
hung
expose
up.
her, I
That
wanted to do it
evening,
where she felt
he
most
returned
confident.
much later than usual.
Right in the middle of her
He
own
moved
stage
through the house with
performance.
quiet precision.
As guests started
Keys
arriving,
on the counter,
the atmosphere
jacket
seemed
draped
typical.
over a chair.
People were chatting,
He looked at me
snacking,
briefly,
and
but there
making
was
small
no
talk.
anger in his eyes.
My girlfriend played
no
the role
exhaustion,
of the perfect host,
just
laughing and
emptiness.
being bubbly.
I
But
crossed
could
my
tell it
arms,
was all an act.
my own emotions
She kept glancing
simmering
at her
beneath
phone,
the surface.
slipping away
Are
into
you
the
done
hallway
sulking?
every chance she
The
got.
words came out
I
harsher
decided
than
to
I
follow
meant
her
them
quietly
to.
once,
For a
and I
moment,
heard her
he
whispering,
said nothing.
"Just wait a bit
Then
longer.
he let out a
I'll
low,
come see you
weary
soon."
sigh. One
That
so heavy it
confirmed my
carried more than
suspicions.
just fatigue.
Her ex was
It
lurking
carried
nearby.
something deeper,
A few moments
something
later,
I couldn't quite grasp.
My father subtly signaled
I'm tired,
for me to
Claire,
look outside.
he said softly.
Sure enough,
Something about
there
the way he
was,
said it made my
pacing
chest
anxiously
tighten.
in the hallway.
This wasn't the kind
looking
of
like some
tired that
love-struck
sleep
fool.
could fix.
Instead of
I
confronting him
stiffened,
right away,
refusing
I
to let
stepped
my
back,
guard down.
letting him believe
I expected
no one
a
had noticed
sarcastic
him.
remark,
Then
an argument,
I returned to the
something to
party
fight
and waited.
against. But
Minutes
instead,
later,
he
made
just
his
looked at
move,
me,
attempting
long
to
and
slip
searching,
inside.
as if trying
My
to find
father,
something in
our
me that he
family
had
friend,
lost.
and I
And
followed
then,
him
with
straight
quiet
into the
finality,
kitchen.
he said,
The moment my
"That's the
girlfriend saw
problem."
him,
His
her
words
face drained
landed
of
like a
color.
gut punch.
She rushed forward
What the
in a
hell does
panic,
that mean?
trying to position
I
herself
demanded,
between us.
my voice
The ex,
cracking
however,
with
had this
desperation.
smug,
He didn't
self-satisfied
answer.
smirk, like
Instead,
he was proud of the
he walked
audacity
past
he
me
had just
into our
displayed.
bedroom
He
and
casually
opened the
opened
closet.
with, "Hey man,
I watched,
just wanted
frozen,
to stop by and
as
wish
he
you a
reached
happy
up and pulled
birthday,"
down the
as
old
if we
black
were
duffel
old
bag.
friends.
And
I
just
locked
like
eyes
that,
with him,
the
then
weight of
slowly turned to
everything
my
we had been
girlfriend
holding
and
in
said,
threatened to crush
"So,
me.
this is the ex you've been texting, right?
The one you've been secretly meeting." The kitchen went completely silent. She stammered, "It's not what it looks like." Before she could say more, he jumped in, emboldened. "She told me you were controlling. That she deserves better." His tone was dripping with arrogance, clearly trying to provoke me. Without a word, I pulled out my phone and began scrolling through screenshots. Message after message. Proof of her deception. I even had a receipt from a lakeside restaurant where they had dined together, along with notes on her sneaky weekend getaways. The evidence was undeniable. To seal the deal, a mutual coworker, who had also attended the party, spoke up, confirming she had seen them together during lunch breaks and that my girlfriend had pleaded with her to keep quiet. Still, my girlfriend desperately tried to keep up the lie, insisting, "It was just one lunch." But her ex rolled his eyes and flat out said, "Stop lying. You told me you were done with him." That was the final nail in the coffin. My father, standing beside me, gave her a look of sheer disappointment. Meanwhile, some of the party guests, curious about the escalating tension, peeked into the kitchen, their faces a mix of confusion and realization. My girlfriend, now in full-blown panic mode, tried to reach for my arm, tears welling up as she swore, "I was confused. I was manipulated." I shook her off. "I'm done with your nonsense." The ex puffed out his chest, clearly spoiling for a fight, but my off-duty law enforcement friend, Clay, stepped forward and gave him a warning. "If you don't leave right now, you're going to have a much bigger problem than just being caught." With one last huff, the ex stormed out. My girlfriend stood frozen, eyes darting around, searching for someone, anyone, to defend her. But there was nothing left to defend. The weight of her actions had crushed whatever sympathy she might have had. She turned to me once more, pleading, "Can we just talk in private?" I didn't budge. "Pack your things and leave." She begged for another chance, but I was too angry, too hurt to listen. My father gave me an approving nod, silently acknowledging that I was handling the situation the right way. With no other option, she went to our room, packed a small suitcase, and left, right then and there. The party, of course, was ruined. But surprisingly, some of my friends actually congratulated me on keeping my composure. Despite the emotional wreckage, I felt an odd sense of relief, like I had finally put an end to a toxic chapter in my life. In the days that followed, she bombarded me with texts and voicemails, trying every manipulative tactic she could think of, apologies, guilt trips, even blaming me for her own cheating. I blocked her on everything. She even showed up at my workplace once, but my staff quickly shut that down, telling her to leave or security would be called. She never got past the lobby. About a week later, I received an old-fashioned letter in the mail. She wrote that she was sorry, that she never meant to hurt me, but she also tried justifying her actions by claiming she had been confused. I didn't bother reading the whole thing. I tossed it aside, unwilling to let her excuses take up any more space in my life. My father, ever the straight shooter, simply said, "Told you something was off." But he didn't rub it in too much. My mother, usually sweet and patient, was absolutely livid when she learned the full extent of the betrayal. She even offered to help throw my ex's remaining belongings onto the curb, but I had already made sure she took most of her stuff when she left. Meanwhile, the ex wasn't done being a nuisance. He continued to send messages from random numbers, taunting me, bragging about how they were still together and how I was the loser in this situation. But karma did its job. I later found out that he cheated on her too, and their relationship crashed and burned in spectacular fashion. She even tried reaching out to some of my friends for financial help, but by then, everyone knew the truth, and no one was willing to bail her out. Through it all, my parents stood by me, and that meant everything. Since then, I've been focusing on myself, putting more energy into my job, reconnecting with old friends, and picking up hobbies I had neglected, like fishing and playing pickup basketball. These things helped me move forward. I haven't jumped into a new relationship yet because I refuse to make the same mistake again. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this: always trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. Looking back, I don't regret letting her believe she was fooling me. If I had confronted her too soon, she might have twisted everything or destroyed the evidence. By waiting, I gathered all the proof I needed and exposed her at the perfect moment, right in front of the people who mattered most to her. She tried to make me look like a clueless fool, but in the end, she was the one who got played. Watching her ex scurry away like a coward was just the icing on the cake. I never expected to find myself in a situation like this, where someone I loved could lie to my face and bring another man into my home, all while expecting me to stay oblivious. But people will do terrible things when they think they can get away with them. The biggest lesson? No one has the right to treat you like you're worthless. If you suspect someone is playing games, gather your proof, Confront them on your terms, and don't let them escape the consequences. That's how my girlfriend's sweet ex became her dirty little secret, and how I made sure she was exposed for what she really was. She walked out of my life that night, and I've never looked back. Sure, it hurt, but the satisfaction of shutting down her entire scheme made it worth it. Now, I'm in a better place, focused on what truly matters. If I could give one piece of advice to anyone going through something similar, never ignore the red flags. If something feels too shady to be a coincidence, it probably is. It was a rough road, but I'm grateful I had the right people by my side. Sometimes you have to go through hell just to realize what you truly deserve: honesty, respect, and zero nonsense. And from now on, I won't settle for anything less.